is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So if you watched my last video, you'll have seen that we tuned the BMW 330. Now in today's video, we're going to be messing with the burbles and seeing if we can get this car to sound a little louder, a little more aggressive. Nothing too crazy, but just a little more. I don't want this thing to sound like super crazy. The 435 definitely sounds a lot more aggressive, especially now that it has the downpipe. The 330 though, I want it to sound a little louder, but again, nothing too crazy. What I'm definitely gonna do is turn off the burbles in like comfort and eco mode. I'll only turn on the burbles for when it's in sport mode, so that way we kind of have a balance. But yeah, overall, we don't want it to sound too loud. Again, I sound like a broken record when I keep on saying this on my channel, but this is the daily. This is the car we want to go a little more crazy with. So for this car, we'll do it to a modest amount. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is set up the camera behind the car so we can take some shots of what the car sounds like right now. I'll give it a few revs so we can hear what it sounds like. It's definitely nothing crazy as it sounds right now. I was actually debating, should I go somewhere else to film this because I don't want my neighbors to hate me. With the 435, that's definitely the case. With this car, I don't even think it's gonna be that loud. So I think we should be fine. Then we'll hop inside the car. We'll go into BM3. We'll adjust the burbles. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do is set it to the most aggressive level, because even at the most aggressive level, I don't think it's gonna be too bad or too loud in this 330. Regardless though, we're gonna keep eco mode and comfort mode in its lowest level, so essentially off. Yeah, with that said, guys, let me rev the car and see what it sounds like now. So as you guys just heard, this car is honestly pretty quiet. Like, it does burble a little bit. There are some, I won't even say pops, but you do get those burbles. It's very subtle. Again, for what this car is, I think it's perfect. If you guys were wondering, I did have it in Sport Plus while I was doing that. And yeah, I mean, it does sound good right now. Most people who get these cars are going to want to daily them and, you know, have a car that's a little more subdued. But I do think we can get it a little more aggressive with BM3. If you guys didn't know already, I do have an air intake in this car. I'll actually quickly show you guys that, because from what I've heard, and don't quote me on this, guys, but I do believe an air intake will affect the sound of burbles. Basically, since the car is getting more air, it does help the exhaust sound a little bit. So if you guys are wondering, this is a BMS air intake. It does sound really good. You guys probably actually heard it even when I was revving the car. The sound of the intake was actually louder than the sound of the burbles, which is pretty funny. But yeah, while we're on the topic, I might as well mention I also have a charge pipe on this car as well. I don't think that's going to affect the sound at all, but I do think the air intake will help the burbles a little bit. Again, don't quote me on that, just something I've researched and heard about, but I could be totally wrong. So yeah, I figured I'd just let you guys know what mods I have on the car right now. So if you're wondering if there's anything else affecting the sound, obviously once we tune the burbles with BM3, that's going to be the biggest thing that impacts sound. But yeah, let's just jump into that. So I'll log into BM3. I'll throw up a screen share so you guys can see exactly what settings I'm putting. Again, I think I'm just going to do like the most aggressive. I'm not going to do a long duration because I hate burbles that go on for a long period of time. I like those just like 1 or 2, maybe 3 loud pops. In my opinion, I think that sounds the best. That's what I did on the 435 and I absolutely love it. Again, by no means is this thing going to sound as loud as the 435, just because that's the N55, one of the best sounding BMW 6 cylinders out there. And it also has a catless downpipe. So this 4-cylinder with its catted downpipe, it's just not a fair comparison. But anyways, with that said, let me connect my OBD adapter. Let me log into BM3 and we'll get started. All right, so adjusting your burbles on boot mode 3 is pretty easy. So what I'm gonna do is go into the app. I'm gonna go into my maps. I'm gonna go to my stage 1 multi-map. So that's the one that I have. And at the top right there, I'm gonna press on configure. Now, being that this is a multi-map, I have all these different options. So I'm gonna select on number 3, because that's my 93 octane tune. Now you're gonna see an option for burbles. What we basically wanna do is press on the drop down, go down to custom, and we can see all the sliders. So like I was saying before, I'm gonna keep everything that's normal on basically like nothing, so that way the burbles are completely off on the cars in eco and comfort when I'm driving through like my neighborhood or driving to work. But for all the ones that say sport, we're gonna turn it up. So for duration, I think 1.5 should be fine. We'll see if that's too long or too short. The aggression, we're going to turn it up all the way. And then for max RPM and max speed, I'm also going to turn those up so that way the burbles don't stop at any point. After that, I'm going to press on save. We'll reflash. Now, flashing the card this time around should be a lot faster than the first time, which is good. It should be like lightning quick in comparison. Yeah, as soon as this finishes, we'll turn on the car and we'll see what it sounds like. All right, so just finished flashing. So all you have to do now is turn off the ignition, leave it off for about 5 or 10 seconds. After that, we can turn on the car. and we should be good to go. So now I'm definitely not expecting anything crazy out of it. Even in sport mode, in comfort and eco mode, it should actually be more quiet than it was before. And that's honestly, guys, so I can be a little more discreet when I'm driving through my neighborhood, driving to the office for work. But I'll see. If it's too quiet, honestly, I might turn it up a little bit. Definitely not as much as in sport mode. But for now, guys, I'm gonna throw it into sport. I'll throw the camera in the back and we'll rev it and see what it sounds like. So hopefully the audio was decent enough and you guys are able to hear it clearly. As you guys can tell, it's really not that loud. Like I said, I wasn't really expecting anything crazy. This car is pretty much completely stock, which is totally fine. Like, that's what I expected, and that's kind of what I want. I will say they did go on a little longer than I anticipated, but I think since they're so subdued, I actually don't mind it. Whereas, like, I keep on saying the 435, it's definitely a lot more aggressive. Like, those ones really pop and bang. So like for those ones, I don't want them to last too long. But for these, I actually think it's pretty fine how it is. Towards the end, I did put it into comfort mode and I gave it a few revs there so you guys can hear. As you guys can tell, in comfort mode, it is completely quiet now, which is good. I don't know if I'm going to change that later. I do like that it's quiet in comfort and eco mode, but maybe we'll change it. I don't know. I mean, even the burbles in sport mode really aren't that bad. So I think if I have it like that all the time, even in comfort mode, I think that's fine. I'm sure in stage 2, the burbles in this thing gets a lot more crazy with the downpipe and all that type of stuff. Again, I don't know if I'm going to go that far. I think for what I use this car for, I think this is perfect for me. So I've made this comparison in my last video when I tuned this car to stage 1 in terms of the power. And I said that this car, the B48 in stage 1, felt comparable to the N55 when it was completely stock. And now even with the burbles sound very, very similar to the N55 when it was completely stock. Again, like, it's definitely there. It's a little more subtle, especially the way that it's set up right now. That's pretty much how my 435 was before I tuned it or did anything to it. So the burbles on the 435 really weren't that aggressive when I first got it. Unlike the X3 M40, which has the B48, the burbles on that thing are pretty aggressive just right out the box. Also, if you guys heard like a 340 or even like a Supra, their burbles are pretty crazy even just from stock. So the N55 was pretty subdued in terms of burbles when it was factory, and now the B48, when it's tuned with aggressive burbles, is pretty comparable to that N55. Still not comparable to like a B58 even stock. Definitely not a bad thing by any means. Like, in terms of sound, this 330 sounds exactly like how I'd want it to. The 435 sounds like how I want it to for what that car's purpose is. So again, not a bad thing at all. It's perfect for me and what I want to do with it. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. Kind of give you like an idea of what you can expect out of a stage 1 330, pretty much stock with an aggressive burble setting. If you guys did find it helpful or just entertaining, make sure you drop this video a like. It really helps me out. We have a lot more to do with the 330. Not as many performance mods right now, but a lot of aesthetic stuff coming. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with that said, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.